Right. Here we go.
Here we go. I'm getting into my wine.
I already poured my wine.
I heard you doing that. I'm doing like the foil thing. And like, I'm really bad at the foil thing. It always comes off in all these little pieces.
Yeah.
But I also like sometimes cut myself with it. But I'm doing a Bordeaux. Classic pretty.
Classic. I'm doing a Boda box. Classic Tyler.
Red Revolution. That's a good one.
Looks like we have a couple people in the waiting room that are getting ready to join.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm just gonna get into this wine. Hi, Holly.
Hey.
Welcome. We're getting settled. I'm getting into my Bordeaux. You can see how I actually struggle in real life. I try to hide this, but you know I'm not the greatest at opening these things sometimes.
It's true.
Got it. Also, one thing for you guys to know, if you don't feel like going on video or even audio, totally okay. We've got the chat and we can see. So if you want to put questions down there, completely understand. I will say Charlie's probably going to bark at some point during this because I'm not confident that he's going to stay quiet. But yeah, Holly, totally. Chat is perfect. I actually forgot Zoom had that, which is silly because I use Zoom at work.
I've never used Zoom at work in my entire life. This is my first time doing it other than like an interview. So I'm like, ooh, new.
Yeah, we use like Microsoft Teams mostly though, but all right. Well, sorry, I'm putting this on silent because my watch keeps beeping. Oh, I was gonna pour my wine.
I just dropped my iPad from the heavens. So
okay, so Tyler, do you I know we thought of a couple of just like intro questions. Oh my gosh, yes, totally living on Zooms and Microsoft Teams. That's my life.
I cannot imagine how y'all are all doing like college classes and everything via video.
Yeah.
Hey, Sammy.
Hey. All right. So, Ty, do we want to like just start looking at our random questions as people hop on and we can just, I don't know, chat?
Yeah.
So we're doing this like as a Zoom call, just testing this out. Thought it was a really fun opportunity to just see you guys, talk to you guys. So yeah, and we've got like really random questions, so we're just gonna talk. Basically, this is just gonna be like banter. But like, feel free to jump in, ask us questions, put them in the chat, like however works.
I'm sending the link because apparently not everyone is able to get in.
Oh, is it are there people in the waiting room?
I'm double checking. This is my first time using Zoom, y'all. So, but okay, all good. Yes, questions. Let's start.
Oh, do you want me to start?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna just like pick a really random one. Let's see. Wow, all of these I feel like I know the answer to, and I feel like we've talked about them on the podcast.
I mean, when you have 152 episodes, I don't know how many episodes we have, 150 something.
Yeah.
Also, if y'all have any questions or anything y'all want to ask, like feel free, shout them out, type them in, do all the things.
I have a really fun one to start off with. It's really random. But what's your favorite thing about me? It says your sibling, but that's me.
Okay, but we have a lot of siblings, so my favorite thing about you, just how like dependable you are. How pretty much I know, regardless of what's going on, what I'm going through, what you're going through, it's like I need someone, I can reach out to Brittany at any time. Hey, Kristen.
Oh my gosh! Hey,
Hello.
I'm sorry. I'm like freaking out right now. Oh my gosh. Oh, do you have your Olivia Pope wine glass?
Here.
Ah!
I made sure to have, I was like, I have to pick the best wine glass for this.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Who else is on? Or do we have a lot of people on?
Just a few of us so far. We've got Holly and Sammy, and Tyler's trying to like control the making sure to look at the waiting room. He's new to Zoom.
I'm
So
Oh.
learning how to-
Yeah, I feel like so many of us have been using it for work, and we're probably more proficient than we want to be at Zoom and like Teams and shit like that.
It's so true.
Hey,
Hey,
Hey, Stacy, also known as Mama. That's our mom.
that's a mom.
Mama, oh my gosh, when are you gonna come back on an episode? You were like only in one.
I know I need to. I need to be invited. That's my thought. I mean, but hey, that's just me.
And Brittany and I are in different cities. It's not as easy, but I guess we can make that happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
There we go.
Hi, Aubrey.
Hi.
Hey, well, cheers, everyone.
Yes.
Happy Thursday.
Gonna go get my drink. But well, we have just started talking like really random questions, just telling everyone if you have any questions, feel free to ask them or type them in the chat, like however you want to communicate. It's all good. And we've just got some really random questions that we were going to kind of start going through just to get the conversation going. So
Yeah, we found this list. It's like 254 questions for vloggers, and I was like, okay, that's and then some of them are cool. They're like, have you met anyone famous? Okay, interesting. Some of them are like, have you ever been in the snow? Yes. Yes. So it's a smattering.
yeah.
Well, I'm wondering, talk about how much research you have to do for every, let's start with this. So how do you come up with your topics? Do you just you're having a drinking night and you're saying, hey, Tyler, I think, what about this? I just saw a show. So how do you come up with them?
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's a really good question because sometimes it's a lot easier to come up with a topic than not. And honestly, we've gotten this far in the podcast that sometimes it's like, okay, we've kind of done this, but how do we spin it to make it a little bit different? Because a lot of the times when we pick a topic and we pick cases, there are also so many more that could have fit. And so, I don't know, unfortunately, there's a lot of murder out there. So there's a lot of topics.
Yeah, and sometimes our topics are born, we'll find a case that's like, oh my God, I have to do this case for the podcast. And we'll work backwards and be like, okay. So the one I'm thinking of it was an episode we did quite a while ago, and it was our hotel murders episode. And you had you really wanted to do H.H. Holmes and
his murder.
Chicago. And you were like, okay, well, I need to do this. So hotel murders. And I was like, perfect. I have Elisa Lam. Let's do this.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and we try to do like a good mixture of cases that people have heard of, because sometimes it's just good to go back to the classics, I guess, for a lack of better, that was a horrible way to say it, but you get what I'm saying. But then also we like doing really obscure cases. So sometimes you'll see topics and you're like, how did they come up with that? It was probably because we found the case first.
Well, I think another thing is we'll sometimes, when we're probably a couple days or the week before we record an episode, we'll get on the phone and basically pick a topic out of like just what's going on in life. One of our recent ones, beach murders. It was because it's like, it's summer, we're wanting to go to the beach, let's do that. And I think that's been one of the ways we have made it easier to do a lot of these cases that are more obscure and not really known, is we're not necessarily just always picking like, oh, let's pick the biggest hitting ones, but we're able to find, I don't know, more rando topics and find cases that it's like, oh my gosh, how have I never heard of this person? These are movies.
Yeah, I feel like that happens all the time where we'll find a case and it's like, this is so horrifying. How have we never heard of this one before? And one thing that is interesting, like we do a lot of cases from America. There's a lot of cases around the world. Some of the information is really hard for us to find or like translated. Some of the stuff's in other languages and we can't do it. I mean, I guess we could, we just don't.
Yeah. Well, I think in a lot of the cases that aren't necessarily in English or coming from our tongue, like our mother tongue, there's a lot of different nuances and stuff in the language that you don't really get if you're not fluent in it. And I am only fluent in English. I could like get by with Spanish and then like I can kind of cough in Norwegian. That's it.
Didn't you do like a German case one time though or something and you had to translate everything?
Yeah, you're good at the accents.
What?
So you're good at the accents and all of the different voices.
I try my best. I have like always enjoyed the performance stuff. So, and I'm that person who sits in my room, I hear an accent that I'm like, ooh, I'm going to try to do that. And my neighbors probably think I'm absolutely insane.
Probably.
My favorite voice is when Tyler does his like 1920s reporter or movie star voice. And then he goes on for like 5 minutes and you're like, okay, you can stop doing the voice now, Tyler. But then again, you're just like, it's so hilarious.
I fall into it.
That is a-
Y'all personally have any like favorite topics that you like to do or you enjoy more or anything in particular?
It's always so weird to think about like,
Like, I know it's a weird question, like what type of murder do you like the most?
Yeah.
But really, like we all like murder here, so.
I know that's the thing, is getting into the mindset of like, or having to grapple with the like weird uncomfortability of being like, oh, we're talking about murder and stuff, but it is entertainment. But is this weird? But then how many TV stations, channels, and podcasts and stuff like are straight up? It's like murder. It's like, no, it's entertainment.
it is. Me personally, my favorites are when we do the serial killers because I've always had such a fascination with like the psychology behind why people do these things, and there are so many different reasons and very a lot of different levels of what these murderers are doing. But that's been one that anytime I have the opportunity to do a serial killer, I'll generally pick them.
I think my favorites are, I would have to go with, I think, Survivor episodes, because
Yes. Yes.
I love, like, not only in many ways there's at least some kind of silver lining because you know that they survived, but also it's one of the few cases where you get to hear what someone went through and their experiences in their own words.
Mm-hmm.
And it grounds them so much in reality, because it's not just us saying like, this is what happened. It's them saying, this is what happened to me, what I thought, what I felt. And those are the most powerful cases I think we've done. And also some of the most intense. I think when you hear when you hear what someone went through in their own words, it takes it to a whole nother level.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it when you've got an update, when you've done, the Golden State Killer or some of the others that aren't as well known, and all of a sudden it's in the news, or there is an update, or they come up for parole because you've said that in the case. I don't know. That's always interesting when you tie back.
Hey, Bridget.
Hi.
I,
Hello.
I know it's interesting because I know the updates are ones that are not as easy to kind of do, but I don't know. What are y'all's thoughts on if we, and I literally thought of this just now, so Brittany might like,
What?
but I don't know, what if we did some kind of semi-regular updates section for Patreon or something?
Yeah.
where we
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go through the previous,
Mm-hmm.
I guess we couldn't
Yeah.
like,
I'd be interested in that.
but I don't know, and we're like, that's kind of where we share our updates, because I think early in the podcast, we tried to do kind of an updates corner, and
We did.
it got to a point where we'd probably at episode like 20, we're like, we have so many cases. I don't remember to research everything. So there's a thought.
I'd be interested in that for sure.
I'm new to Patreon. I just did it, although I've been listening to you guys for forever, and I barely started it. But then it's funny because I'm listening to them and then I'm like, it's too short. It's too short. And I'm like, but they're supposed to be short. But I like that idea of like having a variety like of topics.
Mhm.
So I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, and we're trying to like, we want to keep Patreon fresh and do different things. We want to try more things like this, like Zoom calls with you guys, or we just want to do more than just the murder movies. Willow, of course, I knew she was going to come up here. You saying hi?
Oh, so that's Willow, because I only see I saw the wiener dog once.
Yeah, Charlie he's in the living room right now. Do you want to sit down?
This is
Well, if we're showing our pets, hi.
Kylie, you should get Max. I want to see Max.
okay. I'll go get Max. I'll go get the
We got to show off the fur babies. I mean, they're like almost in,
Got him all the time.
I would say, a significant amount of episodes.
Mhm.
There's a fur baby, so we got to show them off.
Yes, especially in like our earlier episodes when we were still, because we're completely like self-taught. We taught ourselves how to record and edit and like all this stuff. And it's funny to listen to some of the earlier episodes. You can definitely hear the animals in the background, like little jingles. And I think you still can a little bit now too, but.
Oh, there's Max.
Maxie says hi. He also said, I know. Oh my god. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Say hi, everyone.
I don't know if he likes being on Zoom.
Yeah.
Well,
Camera shy.
Already.
Is camera shy.
And of course, I go out there to get Max, and Skippy is on top of my kitchen cabinets.
He is right now? Of course he is.
Of course he is.
Sometimes like when you guys mention certain things, it's really strange for me how I have certain connections to things you guys say. So like, for instance, Skippy is actually the name of this stuffed animal I've had since I was a very little girl.
Aw.
So I was like, that's weird. And then how like, I pretty much watch every single show that Brittany does. And then the only movie you ever like really care about, Tyler, is like Titanic, which was my favorite movie growing up.
Good.
he does listen.
I'm sorry, you guys are probably thinking I'm like, oh God, there's our stalker. But I literally binged you for like, I don't know how long, for when I was driving in my car, driving to work, driving back. Like, my boyfriend kept saying like, "It's all you listen to." I'm like, I don't know.
Oh, I love it.
I do too. That's so awesome. Well, and like I love that I feel like you guys know us, and like it's cool to know that our personalities, like who we are, it really is coming across, because we always want to be like super genuine. And I love that, like my whole life I've known all these little things about Tyler, and now like a lot of people do. And honestly, sometimes we're shocked that people enjoy just listening to us talk to each other, but like that's that's just our relationship, I guess.
I think my favorite part of every episode, honestly, is the banter in the beginning and hearing y'all talk about, whatever, like normal day things before y'all go on. Even, I'm not a big wine person, so I used to not listen to the wine part, but then y'all started incorporating the banter more into the wine part as well. And so I started listening, especially when Tyler spit out his wine of gross, like fruit box left in the car wine. After that, it was very much like, oh, I want to listen to the banter even during the wine. So now I listen to the wine part. I don't skip it anymore, just because I'm like, there's banter in there still. That's my favorite part of every episode, is the banter.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that y'all love that, because, I mean, in the beginning it was, part of it to get to know y'all, but it also felt like something that was, we kind of need to have banter. And I think for a while there, earlier on, we had started moving to less and less. And we'd gotten some feedback being like, where's the banter? We missed that. We're like, okay. And yeah, really, it's just, we'll just chat about like a thought we had that day, or it's, yeah. I love it that I feel like y'all get to really hear just the real us. Like, what you hear is what you get, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I listen to a lot of podcasts, and there's quite a few, friends from college that started a podcast, or maybe even couples, but there's not that many brother-sister podcasts where they can talk about their family. They talk about mama and things like that. Like, you don't hear that a ton, so it's really cool getting a podcast and hearing that little banter that y'all can take back to when y'all were young. Like, that's just really cool.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like we have a unique, because like for siblings, I know a lot of my friends aren't super close with their siblings. And so I like, people who do have siblings, just showing them, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but like how to have a relationship with your siblings, because it's not always easy. And because your siblings, sometimes they're the people that you like love and hate the most. If that makes sense, you know what I'm saying?
That felt like a read, but okay.
But no, it's just like they're the people who a lot of the times they know more about you than a lot of other people in your life, because they did grow up with you. Not necessarily, but like I know in our case, like I feel like Tyler is one of the few people that knows me to my core and knows like the little details. He's on the same level of like my best friend, where they can tell when my tone is just a certain way that I'm just like, oh, Brittany needs some space. Tyler, while he knows those times, also sometimes still pushes the boundaries. It's like, oh, she needs space, but not today.
Space, but I'm also needy, so no, I'd have to say the exact same thing. I mean, I think of like all the people in the world, you full on probably know me the best. And you'll do things that'll like annoy me, but I know I need. Like when I'm like really sad and don't want to talk to anyone, and like I'm calling you, and if you don't answer, I'm calling you again because we're gonna chat. And I'm like, we both know I'm gonna feel better by the end of it, but fine.
Yeah. Oh, so here's a little secret about Tyler that's super annoying. He never answers text messages.
Oh yeah, no.
Ever. So like you see our text thread and it's literally me. I just have this person that just won't stop, and it's true.
Okay, to be fair, Brittany is also one of those people that texts like this. Hey, quick question. What do you think about this? My thought was this. And I'm like, can you send it in a paragraph?
not going to answer that one either.
No, but my phone just buzzes once.
That's true.
Oh gosh.
Do you guys ever run out of wine? Like new ones to try, or like where do you, because sometimes you say that you run down to like the bodega or something, or like you're at Trader Joe's, but where do you get your wine? And then do you ever run out of like variety?
So surprisingly, as of yet, I have not run out of wine, and I pretty much only get wine from my little bodega, especially once quarantine set in. I was like, I'm not gonna like leave and go to big stores. And the wine section here is probably, it's a good sized wine selection. There's maybe like 50 bottles, and they change them up pretty regularly. And I'm quickly realizing I am a well-known wine customer there because I go in probably 2-3 times a week and get a different bottle of wine. And so a couple of weeks ago I went, and the owner was there, and he was like, "Oh, I got some new wines for you you'll love." And I'm like, oh no, I'm that person. So I haven't run into any issues. I used to do some from Trader Joe's and stuff, but I am also knowing that I'm like, I think there's maybe 8 bottles left in that store that are in my price range that I have not tried, because we like to keep our wines in the like $15 or less, just so they're ones that a lot more people are going to be comfortable going out and trying. I know I kind of hate when you listen to a wine review or wine podcast or something that sounds really good and you want to get the bottle too, and it's a $45 bottle, and I'm like, no, I'm not spending that kind of money. So.
And it's like, generally, when it comes to like when we're going to pick up a bottle of wine at the grocery store or at the liquor store, the $15 and below is our normal price range. Like that's just like what I normally go and get. Now, if I'm somewhere like at a winery or something, yeah, I'm gonna, not necessarily get the $15 bottles because it's not somewhere that you can get like everywhere. But yeah, like Tyler was saying, I've been getting my wines, like you're saying, from Trader Joe's, which I'm trying not to do that as much anymore, to be honest, because not everyone has a Trader Joe's near them. And so I don't want to like just alienate like that opportunity. So I've been going to, here in Texas, we have a place called Total Wine, and it's literally like giant wine warehouse. They're just everything you can have. So I'm definitely not running out of options, but I will say sometimes when we're trying to find a new variety, because we will just go to the store and look, and that's how we'll find some of the super random ones that we find. But when you don't know what you're looking for, sometimes it's hard to find something new and different. So I know there for like a good long while, I was like, I'll just do another French wine because those are my favorites and I know I'm probably gonna love them. Or we pick another New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc because they're amazing.
That's my favorite.
It's
yeah.
They're so good.
They are. They're so good. And like sometimes the alcohol content it's not too low either, because honestly, like that's the first thing I look at. I'm like, how do you know if it's worth buying? Like you have to see like I don't want to be drinking grape juice.
True. Oh my gosh, that makes me think of a story. So I can't remember if I said this on the podcast or not, but this was like a couple months ago. I was at Total Wine. It was summertime. I wanted to get a rosé, and I found one, and the name of it's actually kind of like, I don't know. It just sounds like weird, but it's called Ron's Chillable Pink. And I was like, oh, this is you know what I mean, Tyler? It's just like a very provocative, that's the word I was looking for. It's like a very provocative name. But sorry, I just got but like, so I saw it was rosé and I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is exactly what I'm looking for. I get home. I made the mistake of not actually looking to see if it was rosé. It wasn't. It was just a pink wine. It was probably a white Zen, but it was like 8% alcohol, super sweet. And I mean, y'all all know I don't like sweet wines. And I was like, this sucks, because it was also like $13. And I was like, are you kidding me? I just spent $13 on something I can't even drink. So
Yeah, that's always sad when you're like, take it home and it's not up to what you were expecting it to be. And you're like, damn,
I
could
know
have gotten something else I really enjoyed.
I should have like taken it back and like, I tried this and I made a mistake. Please give me something else.
Yeah, ever since that one real fruity wine I think that's probably the first time I have ever spit out a wine, because there's a lot of wines I don't particularly like. Like, I'm not a big buttery shard person, but I'll still drink it, or at least like finish my glass. That was different. It was so bad. But I am so thankful I had a backup wine. I think I had a box or something that I just was like oh, I want some wine this week. And I was like, oh, thank God I have this, because it would have been a wineless episode.
Mm-hmm.
What's the favorite wine that you guys have discovered since doing the show?
I always keep going back to that Bulgariana Gamza we did, because it had such cranberry flavors that I've never had in a wine, and I loved it. And then when we were at Bending Branch, that was amazing. Yep. Oh my gosh. Because I feel like, and I know that like logically this probably isn't true, but I feel like having wine at a vineyard, there's just like a freshness and that you don't get when you get a bottle from the store. Maybe it's the atmosphere of it. I don't know, but oof, yeah.
Oh, that's a good point. It's really hard for me to pick like what I would say is my favorite wine. I think one that was most memorable, except not memorable enough for me to remember the name of it. It was one of our earlier episodes, but it was the first time that I ever tried a French Sauvignon Blanc. And up until that point, especially towards the beginning when we started this, I wasn't really much of a white wine drinker. I would drink my buttery shards and that was it. The rest was always red. And so this podcast has definitely opened up my palate. It's changed my palate a lot. The wines that I used to say are my favorite are now ones I rarely drink. But the French Sauvignon Blanc was just so, it had great flavors of like melon, and it wasn't like the New Zealand where it's got that key lime, which is wonderful. It was different. It was a tamer, more like grapefruit and melon flavor. And ever since then, a French Sauvignon Blanc has just been one of my absolute favorite go-tos.
Yeah, it's a good one. We have a question from Holly. She asked, what would y'all say is your spirit animal? Ooh, Brittany.
Oh, of course. You're like, I need to think.
Just kidding. I have mine. It's a penguin. It's a full-on penguin. And I say that because a couple things. One, they hit the desk with their elbow all the time. No, they thrive in the cold, and same girl. Two, they're literally, like, their thing is that they're, like, great parents. And that is, like, my ultimate goal in life is to, like, have kids and be a parent. And also, if you think of gay animals, what is the first one you think of? You're like, oh, yeah, the penguin couple in Canada. Me. I'm the penguin couple who's single.
Oh my gosh.
You know, penguins are great. They've always been like my favorite animal, so I'm gonna full on go with that.
I like it. So for me, I would love to say a tiger because that's my favorite animal, but I don't think that's actually who I am. I'm trying to think of an animal that's like brave, but also very cautious. I don't know. What's a timid animal?
A timid yet brave animal. So an animal that like is nervous and stuff, but will run into a burning building to save a family.
I'm that animal. Whatever it is.
Dachshund.
What?
That's a dachshund. That's your dog. That's Charlie.
I thought you said oxen. I was like, that's okay.
Ox. You are one of the 20 that you buy at the beginning of Oregon Trail. No, that is your little dachshund chihuahua mix.
Maybe that's why we connect so well.
And Max is the colors of a penguin, so there you go.
Well, like, what is your Chinese year? Maybe that animal corresponds to your spirit animal, Brittany.
I know. Oh my gosh. I don't remember. 'Cause I was born in 87. Oh, I think, am I a rabbit?
I feel like that's right.
Yeah, I'm a rabbit, which actually that kind of seems pretty fitting.
I'm a rooster. I'm a cock.
What? Oh, yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Tyler, ask me one of the questions.
I'm scrolling through them right now. Because some of them it's like, who eats more chocolate? Woo!
I know one that we really liked yesterday when we were talking about it was describe your sibling in one word.
Oh yeah. Ooh, what did I say? Because it was
one.
really good. Dependable?
I think that's what you said.
Or is that what I said earlier today?
Well, because I said supportive for you.
Which, I mean, it's real.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what each other's dream job is.
Ooh.
Okay.
Okay, you go first.
Oh, of course. Let me think. Your dream job. Okay, it's a whole scene I gotta set. Obviously, it's in Paris. Duh. And it's not necessarily like a fashion writer, but I would say like some kind of style writer. You know, maybe you're like, ooh, these are the new cafes opening up. Or here's the hot goss, the truth tea hun tea of the La Défense region. So I would say that because you like to write, you're creative, you're literally obsessed with Paris, so your dream job could literally be like you're a janitor in Paris, and you'd be like, I made it. So yeah.
That's a good answer. For you, I feel like probably anyone listening could answer this question because I think your dream job is you're definitely working in HR, probably leading a team in Seattle at a company that is tech and very like what was the phrase? Just like very forward facing, like very ahead of the times, like innovative, very innovative tech company.
I like how yours, you're 100% right, but I like how yours is like style blogger Paris and like director of human resources.
But you would love that. I mean, it's exactly what you want to do. And to be totally honest, like you're younger than me and you know what that dream job is. And when I think of like a realistic dream job, I really don't know. I've never really known what I want to do when I grow up. And what I do for a living isn't even what I went to school for. I fell into it. I ended up being really good at it and I enjoy it. And sometimes that's just, that's enough.
Oh, I like it.
I've got a show related question for you guys.
Yeah.
All right, so your first episode was your favorite serial killers. So now that you guys have done so much research on other ones, has that changed or are you guys sticking with the same ones?
Ooh.
That is a good question. I think mine's changed, but it stayed pretty basic. I would say now instead of Dahmer, my favorite is probably Ted Bundy. I hate saying that, but it's true. there's something about that case, and I know a lot of it is because there is a ton of information, but in the last couple of years, we've gotten a lot more documentaries and ones that have like his perspective or his girlfriend Elizabeth's perspective. And so I think it's one of my favorites because we really get to see all of these facets. And I've always looked at that as an example of, this is scary, but it's just like, it could be anyone. Like, it's so hard to trust people. Like, he was just so manipulative, and it just disgusts me. Like, the people who were at like his trials in Florida, who were like, "Oh my gosh, I'm here because he's so hot," and it's like, okay, yeah, he's admitted to killing 30 people. Not at that time, but later on, and we're pretty sure he's killed in the hundreds. So let's not look at the fact that he's cute. And so it's just showing you that, like, I don't know, people are dark, I guess.
The thing that always gets me about Bundy and everyone being like, he's so hot. He's about as hot as the cute guy you can find at any gas station. Like, let's be real. It's not like it's, I don't know, Michael B. Jordan murdering people. Because, I mean, still a murderer, and no, but in that way I could be like, oh, I can still see it. And he's like, okay.
For the record, Michael B. Jordan, not a murderer.
No, he's not a murderer. just in Black Panther, though. My favorite serial killer, I think I would still have to say Gary Ridgway, just because it's one that, like, the sheer number of victims, but also in doing my research and like learning more about that case way before the podcast, since I lived in Seattle, being like, oh, he kidnapped his victim from there. I have been there many a time. Or just having those like weird personal connections, and when where they would find his bodies and stuff on, I think it was Tiger Mountain. And I've hiked Tiger Mountain in the area, and I'm like, oh my God. So I would say, yeah.
Tiger Mountain or Taylor Mountain?
No, it was Tiger.
Oh, I just know Taylor because Bundy also up there in Washington.
They're not that far from each other, mountains. And then there's this one other mountain that everyone in Seattle knows of. It's like the mountain you go on when you're like, we should go for a hike today. Seattle's apparently in Wisconsin, so, but it's like 45 minutes out, but it's in the same like national park area.
Yeah. Great. So there's lots of bones there.
Yeah. There's so many Seattle killers. Like, I would say outside of the cases we do that are in the LA area and the New York area, which I think it's like, oh, a shit ton of people live there, so obviously that's why. But we have so many in the Seattle area. We have when we did Frozen Bodies like 10 episodes ago. I know yours was in Port Angeles, but that's only like what, an hour out. Well, it's longer than that shift. It's not that far. It's maybe 60 miles from Seattle. So, and I'm just like, how? That was in like the 30s or something.
Well, and like the Pacific Northwest, I feel like it's always had this like, it's very eerie there and like dark, and it's because it's cloudy and rainy, and like, because I feel like there was this podcast when I first started listening to podcasts, and it was before I even got into true crime ones, and it was called The Black Tapes. And it was completely fictional, but the premise was like this, this reporter, she kept interviewing this professor, and he was adamant that the paranormal did not exist and you could prove it all, except he had this set of like 12 black tapes that he couldn't prove how this was fake.
Just like
and
VR
throughout the
like
what?
Just like VCR tapes that are black? Like, what other color would they be? Is it the Rugrats movie and it's orange? Like,
one of them. No, just kidding. But anyway, so like throughout like they did seasons, they would be going through these black tapes and everything was connected. It started to get really bizarre and I did fall away from it, but it was set in the Pacific Northwest and that was just something they constantly were talking about, like, oh, the paranormal up here, like it's so weird, it's so crazy, and all the killers. And so also apparently that's where vampires are, according to Stephanie Meyer.
okay.
In case you're wondering.
Oh, Lord. Okay, also, I'm just saying, some of these questions, I'm in the sibling section on the questions. And, like, one of them is, who is Daddy's little sweetheart? That makes my fight or flight response kick in immediately, and I hate it. So we're going to go on to a different one.
Oh, this was the question. I found sorry. I found the one that we talked about yesterday, and I don't remember what my answer was, but describe my temper with a weapon.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I remember I said yours was napalm. Because it's not something that gets seen very often, and it's not something that I think really has been seen in a long time. But when it comes out, it's scary and people will get burned from it. So
when I get mad, I get really mad. What did I say yours was? Like a knife? I think I did because it just like really
saw.
Like, what?
You said a saw because it's slow and painful. I don't know if you were joking when you said that, but that's what you said.
No, that is what I said, which that was the same description I was going to give for the knife. It's just like that it's slow and it's like it plunges in and it's painful and like you really do it in. That's your answer.
Person.
Did say a saw. Man, that was mean. Sorry.
No, I mean, I said napalm, so.
Fair.
I've got one more show-related question for you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so have there been any murders that you were researching for the show and you were going to go with, and then you just got into it and you had to stop and like switch it, and not for because you couldn't find enough info, because I know that happens pretty often, but for some reason other than not being able to find the info, have there been any that you just couldn't go through with?
Yes. There was one, I say pretty recently, my frame of reference into like when we recorded and stuff, I have no idea. Pretty recently could mean like 40 episodes ago. But there was one case I was researching and it involved children that were victims and like beheadings. And I got about halfway into it and I was like, I can't. I don't want to research this anymore. And there have been a couple cases we do that are really heavy, that are hard, but but you can take the level of like, it's important to know, you know, the victims, they deserve their identity to be known and their story to be out there. But there are some, and that was one case that was real hard. I almost didn't do
Georgia Cruise.
Georgia Cruise. That was a very early one. I think that was like episode 9 that has stuck with me. And then the Jamie Bulger case. I mean, yeah, but yeah. So there are a couple times when it'll be a case that is too much. Because, I mean, again, sometimes, you know, we'll be researching and really like a case and there's not enough. A lot of times those cases we're like, okay, well, that's a perfect murder mini. Or sometimes we'll hold on to them until like more info's come out. But as far as full on, like, no, I'm picking a different case, this one's, no. It's usually, for me, when it's just too much. Which is saying a lot, I feel like, for some of the cases we've done.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't think of a specific one, but the ones that I do tend to avoid are ones that have to do with children or
Sylvia Likens. That one, I called you the day we were recording it and was like, should I do this one, or should we record like the next day and I'm gonna find a different one? But I mean, we talked about it, and it's, I mean, her story, it was one that it came down to, you know, her story needs to be told and stuff. But that was probably the closest that I've ever gotten to. We wound up doing it, but almost not. Because yeah, I remember having to call you like 2 hours before we were gonna record.
I remember, yeah. And it was like, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to do it tomorrow? I was like very open because I get it. It's like for some of this stuff, yeah, we're reading a lot of different cases, and we look at a lot of things that to a lot of people, and this, you know, all of us, like, we're obviously interested in murder. Like, it's something that we read and we pay attention to, but at a certain point, sometimes it just gets to be a lot. And so any of the cases can be hard. And there have definitely been some where we do add in like an extra day, like, you know, hey, I don't want to just do my research, like, I want to spread it out, just give myself a little bit of a breather to put it together. So, but I mean, and as you all know, like, we really do try to be advocates for the victims and tell their stories. And it can be kind of difficult, especially when it does come to those bigger cases, like, again, Ted Bundy, because I think that's a good example of one where it's unfortunately easy to not be, you know, listening about the victims and learning about who they were and what happened to them. A lot of it gets overshadowed by him because of the fact that people were so shocked that, oh, this guy did this. But while we're kind of on this theme of talking about different episodes and stuff, what are some of you guys, what's everyone's favorite episode? Do you have a favorite, or some of the ones that stuck out to you? And Tyler, we should answer this question too. You can start. And
I had to pull up the episode lists to be like, which one was it? Also,
you know, sorry.
I would say also, Kristen added, if anyone else is drinking wine, let us know what you're drinking. We can get the wine recs going all around.
Yes.
See, that's what I'm wondering.
Well, I mean, okay, for that, I can start. I am drinking one of my go-tos. It is the Bodabox Redvolution. This is just a really great color. It's so natural. I mean, look at it. No, it's from my bodega, so it was more expensive than it should have been. It was like $23, and usually they're like 16. But it's 4 bottles of wine. It's eco-friendly. It's just a great solid red. It's not anything I would be like, oh my God, girl, you have to try this one. But it's a like, oh, you just broke up with your boyfriend? Come over, we're having wine. I already have it, and it's gonna be good. Like that kind of, it's my go-to. And it's cheap because 4 bottles, even at its expensive price, it's like $5 a bottle.
Yeah. I've got, and you know, I actually don't think I am going to butcher this. It's the Chateau Bois Redon. It's a Bordeaux Superior, and it's one from Total Wine that was like $10 for the bottle, and it was either rated 91 or 93 points. I can't remember, but Mama, do you remember when we were at Total Wine and that guy was like, this is one of our best Bordeaux's, and we were like, it's $10, but it's a really good one. So I grabbed that for tonight.
Well, I'm done with my wine. I finished the bottle, but it was a Tempranillo, and it was really good. It was that San
Yeah, it's like Gregarino or something.
Yeah, that one. So it wasn't terribly expensive. I don't know, 12, 13 bucks.
Yeah, something like that. I had that yesterday.
It's actually heavier than you would think of for a Tempranillo and darker.
Yeah.
But it was good. It was good.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I haven't had Tempranillo.
Drinking Bending Branch wine, of course. I'm drinking Suzhou or Sushao, or there's all sorts of ways to pronounce this one, which I think you guys had this when y'all were there, right?
Yes.
Yep.
So this is a Portuguese wine. It's a Teinturier grape, so one of a handful of grapes that are purple on the inside, which is why it's a very rich color, and also the flavor is like big, bold, dark berry fruit. Highly recommend it. It's a little harder to find, but it's really good.
Yeah, Sammy, I have to tell you, my mom and I are going to be in Fredericksburg here in a couple of weeks, and I was so sad to see y'all aren't open yet to like everyone.
Well, so we're owned by a doctor, so he's very careful. We are doing curbside pickup, and so the governor was supposed to make an announcement today, so we might be able to open sometime soon. We don't know. I haven't heard what the announcement was, but we are open for where we are starting this weekend. Our wine club members can come and drink, which unfortunately no babies are allowed, or else I'd say I could totally host you guys for that one. Worst case scenario, I've got a lot of Bending Branch wine and I live on the river. So like, I know out here it's like gorgeous. I know it would just be horrible to drink a glass of wine by the river, but if that's something that y'all want to do, let me know.
I will definitely be messaging you.
Yeah.
Okay, I know, there it is. Okay, so I found my favorite episode. It's episode 48. I thought we named it Austin Murders. We named it Killings in the Texas Capitol, because that's when we were trying to be artistic with how we named our episodes. But yeah, because in that case, Brittany did the UT Tower shooter, and oh, no, just kidding.
I did the yogurt.
You did the yogurt shop murders, and I did the Austin bomber. That one, I think, was my favorite because, again, I guess I have a closer bond when we do cases that, like, I know the setting. It sets up the reality of it in such a heavier way. So, for example, the yogurt shop murders happened in a shopping center I drive by. Well, not anymore because no one's driving anymore, but I used to drive by all the time. And the Austin bombings, that happened like a month after I moved here. And I remember the impact of not knowing what was going on and like getting the real-time updates as a person not in the situation, but being directly affected by it. I mean, because like at work, we full on changed how we were able to receive any mail or packages, and we weren't allowed to get deliveries, so different things like that. And I think one of the reasons I like episodes that we do where we both have connections on it is I think we have like a deeper banter that gets more personal and shows more of us. So that is my final answer.
Yeah, I think for me, my favorite episode, and it's also because it was a recent one, so it sticks out more in my memory because I have a lot that I've thoroughly enjoyed, and it's always the ones that I don't expect that happen to be those favorites. But when we did recently the Hitchhiker Murders, and I did the Santa Rosa Hitchhiker Murders, there were just so many connections in that case that I haven't come across in other cases I've done research on. And there's that fantastic website, just like the santarosamurders.com, but where I was able to actually go in and read articles from newspapers written in the 70s, like getting very timely information instead of a lot of these recaps that we can find, or it's like a big report on the full case, getting the opportunity to read that in the moment research. Because I mean, Tyler and I we don't go to the level of like going to the libraries and looking through newspaper articles. So the fact that someone else had done that research and compiled it, and we talked about this in the episode, but like that moment in my research when I'm reading an article about, oh, is it the Zodiac killer that's here in Northern California? Because there's all these other murders that are happening. And, you know, he said he was going to move, and we've got murders in Seattle and St. Louis and Colorado. And I just had that moment of like, no, that's Ted Bundy. And it was the only time I've ever been doing research where I was like, oh my gosh, I know information that the writer at the time didn't have. And it was very weird to see, because again, this was in the 70s when I feel like there were just so many murderers and serial killers, which, scary fact, I was actually talking to coworkers about this a couple weeks ago. They estimate that there's anywhere around like 2,000 active serial killers today in the United States. So while it's something that definitely we hear about all these cases happening a long time ago, like this stuff does still happen, and you just, I don't know, gotta stay cautious. But
I mean, I remember when we were doing that episode and you specifically got so excited, you called me before. I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm not going to tell you anything, but just get ready for my case. And I'm like, thank you. Okay, well, chat with you in a couple hours. Also, Holly says, Brittany, can you type the name of your wine?
oh
And
yes, I totally can.
she also said that her favorite episode was episode 72, Disappeared Without a Trace. She thought the unsolved element really elevated the storytelling. Plus, it's unsolved, so there's the potential to hypothesize what might have happened. And Bridget says her favorite episode was episode 4, so classic, the Coons family murders. She's from Marathon County, which is Wausau? Wausau? Wausau. Yeah.
No, it's actually Wassa.
Wausau. Okay.
Wassa, yep.
It's a local murder. It's extremely close to home. And it was interesting to hear about a local one you'd never heard of that your parents remember clearly. And you have a lot of friends from Athens. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay.
That's crazy. Yeah, I've never had a connection like that deep. You know, like I think, Tyler, one of your connections that you had was, oh gosh, I can't remember his name, and I'm sorry, but Bicycle Bob.
Yeah.
And the murder, how you almost went on the date with the murderer.
Went on a date with the murderer like a couple months before. Yeah. Yeah. And we've talked about doing, I don't know, was the topic like ones we have a weird connection to or something? Or did we not do that as a topic and that was just a case? Because I know we talked about it because there's another murder that I go back and forth in wanting to do the story. Honestly, maybe it's the murder I have to tell you about was the topic. Thank you, Holly. Yeah, there's that, and there's one case I want to cover and do it justice, and it's gonna be one we figure out a topic to do, but it's the murder of Sandy. She was someone who I worked with, and it's, I mean, obviously a case that's very close, but it's so powerful because it went to the Oklahoma State Supreme Court. There was legislation against like domestic violence, that even though things there wasn't as much movement as one would hope, the fight is still happening, and it's been probably 8 years now.
Oh, wow.
Since Sandy was killed. But I mean, it's a case I want to do because I don't think it's one I don't think a lot of people know about, and it's also one that I knew her boyfriend at the time too, who allegedly did it, but spoiler alert, it was never classified as a murder, even though someone who's 5 foot can't really shoot themselves with a shotgun, can they? But so yeah, I guess spoiler alert for a future episode we're going to do that. I'm gonna get emotional in.
Yeah. Well, do you remember the one recently? It was, I think, just like workplace murders, where we had to pause because, I actually cried in like a couple episodes recently, and it's just really like sometimes things just like they just like hit you in a different way. But we were, Tyler was doing the case. It was the factory.
Yeah. The Dhaka, Bangladesh garment factory collapse.
Yeah, and Tyler just made a comment about a coworker seeing his best friend right after the incident, and it just, I like lost it, and we had to pause for a good like 20 minutes so I could like compose myself. But and then also definitely in the riots, language of the unheard, that was a really emotional episode too.
Are y'all gonna do another Halloween-ish themed episode? Because I know the Madame Lalaurie was one of my personal favorites.
Oh my gosh, yes!
And, New Orleans and anything Halloween spooky. And so I really liked the Halloween themed episode.
Yeah.
So
we're October is gonna be all spooky themed every episode.
I guess, y'all are our patrons. Y'all are our family, I can tell you. But yeah, we're doing, for October this year, we're doing 4 episodes that are all spooky themed, or something like that. And spooky season. It's spooky season. And our next episode, Brittany, are we cool telling them the topic? Okay. The next episode, we're covering witches. So, witch murders. So,
oh my god.
Yes. So that will be the episode that comes out on
Tuesday.
What, like 5
Look
days?
at Aubrey. She's like jumping up and down. Like she's so excited. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yep.
There was an episode I wanted to share. So the workplace murder one. That one, I just like the take that you took on it, Tyler, because, like when I think of workplace murders, I think of like, shootings, like the one that you did about like going postal, like that phrase. And then, well, I guess I have like top 3 would be like that one. And the one where, actually, the one where Mama was a guest, because dude, she went like, I thought, okay, well, she's here, right? So I was shocked. I was shook because I thought that she was going to go with Tyler's because it was really, really sad. And then like, she just was like the Menendez brothers. And I was like, okay, like, I get it. I get it. Cause like, I mean, she lived through the news coverage and the craziness of all that, but I was shook by like the one that Tyler took, and I was like, wait a second, like that was the only one where I was kind of like, because
Yeah, that's a point of contention. So because afterwards, I was like, are you kidding? You didn't pick mine? Like, you picked Brittany's case? And no, we've had that back and forth now for a while.
Bridget had a really like personal comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bridget said that her dad's a retired letter carrier, so that one was really personal too, the going postal. Yeah, that one, that was episode 2, like our intro, what got us first interested in true crime. And I remember that happened in Edmond, Oklahoma, where we grew up. And I don't know, just having that, like, oh, this is the post office I always go to.
Yeah.
And understanding, like, oh, that's why there's this statue and memorial outside of it. And then later on realizing that, like, you know, the phrase going postal was spawned from that. Because it was such a vernacular, and it's Edmond. It's a great place to grow, as the town motto says. It's a sleepy bedroom community. So yeah, that one was crazy. And it happened 92. So, like, I mean, a year before I was born.
Yeah.
And 2 years, I guess, before our family moved there. But yeah, that, oh my God, I cannot imagine.
Yeah, that one I shared with everybody. I was like, did you know where this phrase came from? And then, like, I told them where I learned the phrase.
Yeah.
And the other one that I was like, that was kind of personal to me was when you guys were doing celebrity deaths. So I think Brittany talked about John Lennon, and then Tyler talked about Selena Quintanilla. And, like, I don't know how many Texas people we have up here, but okay, so, like, I'm super proud Mexican American, second generation, and for me, I very much, like, you guys don't even know, like, Selena is, like, on another level, like, for some of us. She just like represents so much for our community, because she being, like, born here had to struggle with a lot of, like, what we did. So, you know, I don't know if, like, you guys have seen the movie, but in the movie, like, you remember her dad was like, you never seem to win on both sides, because you're not Mexican enough, and then you're not American enough, because you need to know so and so, you need to know so and so. And so, I'm sorry, Tyler, but, like, when you did great, but I was like, at first I was so critical, because I was like, you got to get this right, because, like, this is Selena, man.
I know.
And
pronounced.
So what you kept saying, like, Selena, and I was like, I appreciate it for sure, the pronunciation. But it's funny because Selena, whenever she's doing interviews, although her name is pronounced in Spanish Selena, she will be asked, like, how do you say your name? Selena, and she's like, no, it's Selena. So she, like, prefers the American pronunciation of it. But I liked it because you were, like, really into it, and I was like, I appreciate the effort. But I see, like, Aubrey, like, shaking her head, so I want to see what she has to say about that episode.
Yeah, I was definitely into that one as well, so I get it.
Yeah, that one, it's hard cases that are so important to a community, because instantly you become critical. I know, like, for me personally, if Brittany was doing Stonewall, I'm like, I'm going to watch for every detail, because, like, this is vital history. And yeah, that was I mean, obviously glad to do it, because she is such an impactful person and force, and the fact that her legacy is still just as powerful today, I mean, maybe even more so. I mean,
Yeah, it's crazy. It's been how many years, and it seems like every year more and more people will express how much they've loved her over the years. And, like, what I liked was that in that episode, you made her feel like a real person. Like, you talked about, like, her like, characteristics, you know. So for me, it was important because you did her justice in a way that, like, for people who aren't from Texas or maybe, like, don't know her, you made her seem like a real person. And that's the main thing, is, like, when you talk about her, it's important for, like, our people to make sure that everyone knows that, like, she was a real person who was very beloved for her personality as well as her talent.
Oh, thank you.
That's awesome.
For me was, like, the UT shooting. I'm just saying that because born and raised in Austin, my family actually, my grandfather was in the tower during the shooting. My aunt and my grandmother were in range. And so hearing the entire story was crazy. And even my grandmother and I were in the car for 2 hours the other day. And, you know, we're close, but, you know, we've had our falling out. So it's like, what am I going to do during this 2-hour car ride? I don't really know. I was like, I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to turn on the UT Tower shooting episode because I know she would love to hear that it's actually being, you know, memorialized even today. And so we listened to it and she was so into it. And it's not that I didn't expect her to be, but just kind of, you know, I love cussing, don't get me wrong. I didn't know how she was going to be like, you know, Tyler saying fuck all the time. You know, I didn't know how that was going to come across, or when the part that I remember the most, when Brittany, you said, oh, I don't know what this means. She's like a fuck ton of guns. I don't know what this means. She cracked the fuck up. Like, she was just so into the story. And it was cool hearing how into it she was, because she was there. She was there. She was in range. She was hearing all this go down. Her husband was in the tower. Like, it was a huge deal for them. And so that one by far has been the most impactful to me, because my grandmother kept on wanting me to pause it, to be like, that is so true. This is, you know, this is how this went down. This is how I felt, blah, blah, blah. But she loved how y'all did that. And I think that's just so cool that somebody who is in her, you know, 70s now can still be like, I loved that. And even my mom got in the car later. She was like, oh my gosh, you have to hear this episode. Like, you have to hear them talk about this. I was like, I've already showed it to her. Like, it's okay. But I thought that was really cool that y'all could even like get the attention of somebody so much older, because she didn't even know what a podcast was. I was like, okay, this is modern day radio. Just bear with me. And so putting it on for her and her being so into it, I loved it, because we were able to just like listen to it and enjoy it together. And so I thought that was really cool that y'all can get on that level as well and entertain people of even that age. I thought that was really, really cool.
That's really good to hear. Like, and thank y'all so much for sharing your stories. Like, we try really hard to make sure we're doing what we can to be representative of all people. Like, because murder, you know, and I think Ty and I talked about this, like, yeah, a lot of the cases that you'll see, and we've done a lot, are like white women being murdered. And while, yeah, we're still going to cover these cases, we're just trying really hard to be completely inclusive and to have the right information. And it gets harder because we're getting out of our comfort zones in a lot of places. And I think that's a really good thing. And, you know, things like that shouldn't be easy, but we should always do them. So it's great to hear that y'all are enjoying what we're putting out there. You know, doing this means so much to both of us, and having this opportunity to talk with you guys has been wonderful. Like, thank you so much for joining this conversation. I want to do more of these. This was really fun.
Yes, we absolutely need to do more of these, because, I mean, I'll be honest, I was so nervous before we logged on. I was texting Brittany, I'm like, I don't know, like, what if they don't like us? They'll literally listen to us every week. So, but this is like far and away been so amazing, and it's been so great to be able to put faces to y'all.
Yeah.
You know, and to be able to hear what y'all really think, because you know, we'll get Instagram comments and messages, or, you know, comments and messages through other platforms, and like hearing our reviews, but hearing y'all like one-on-one, like kind of real time talking about like what y'all think, and being able to share this experience with y'all is just incredible.
Yeah, this is really fun. Definitely do more of these.
Yes, definitely. I'd love to hear like where, I don't know, like I want to know like where other Blood and Wine fans are. Like, where are they from? Like, are they from mainly the US, or like, I don't know. I'm just interested like who all listens to you.
We've looked, and the majority of our listeners are in the United States. Sorry, I don't know why I like strung that out. United
States.
I think some of our top cities, it's really surprising because it's like Dallas and Chicago.
Yeah, we have quite a few listeners from the U.S. We have quite a few listeners in like just the English-speaking part of the world because we're an English language podcast. But then we will have, I don't know how the like search terms work or how this happens, but we'll have random episodes that pop off in like certain cities and certain countries. And it'll be weird because we'll get emails that are like, you're the 54th biggest comedy podcast this week in Kenya. And I'm like,
yep.
That's amazing. What about this episode, like, you know, related to the global audience? And so that's really cool. But I think, yeah, the majority of our listeners we have quite a few in the United States and Canada, quite a few in the UK, Norway's big, Ireland, Germany. We have quite a few Romanian listeners, and then quite a few in the Oceania region.
So, yeah, Blood and Wine's gone global.
Yeah, I think definitely next, we're going to do this again. I have decided that right now. And I think maybe we'll try to do an earlier time on a weekend maybe, so we can try to, you know, capture more people, because when we were scheduled this, we're like, this will be perfect. And then we were looking at the time zone and we're like, it is like, we started at 8, it's 2 a.m. in the UK.
Not a good time. All right. Well, thank you all, everyone, so much for joining. This has been awesome.
Yes, thank y'all so much. Oh, that sounded like I was just like going into wrap up the podcast mode. Thank y'all so much for tuning in.
Well, I mean, it was awesome, and I like that your mom was able to come on here too, because like, I mean, she's awesome. Like, when is she gonna be on it? I'm serious. Like, when is she gonna be on another episode?
We'll have her on. Well, I mean, honestly, with the holidays coming up, we'll all be together. So there will be some recording opportunities for sure. That's what we did that last time. It was during like Christmas, I think, when we recorded that episode.
Or was was it when we were there for Mother's Day? The most recent one? Oh, the Menendez brothers one. Yeah, that was over. Yeah. I think we recorded that one over Christmas.
I think so.
We had one we recorded at Mama's house where she busted up in and was like, I'm going to steal some wine. I think that was over Mother's Day.
It was. So, all right.
Awesome. Well, thank y'all so much for joining us today. But with that, this is Blood and Wine.
No!
XOXO.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, all.